From three students, and welcome to our Google Classroom for another edition of our online learning. Remember, we are on chapter 2 of our program, which talks about the structure of the earth, building processes, and the impact on man. As you can see, I'm your regular teacher, Mr. Winston Timothy. Talking about our lesson of today, it is entitled Processes of Tectonism and precisely folding. We have treated the tectonism, and today we are talking about its processes. And one of the major process of tectonism is folding. We introduced it in our last class that there are three main processes, which are folding, faulting, and earthquakes. So today we are going to talk about folding. As plan of our presentation, we are going to review our previous lesson and give our objectives. That will be in our introduction. And our presentation, we shall talk about the definition of folding, the types of folds, and the major landforms of folding. In our conclusion, we have an activity that we are going to carry out. Talking about the introduction, in our last class, we discussed folding or tectonism, and we said tectonism is the process of deformation, bending, or twisting of rocks in the earth crust, which results in the formation of the different landforms like mountains, like plateaus, and many others. We discussed quite a lot on the forces of tectonism, and we identified three main forces, which are the compressional forces, which move towards each other. We have tensional forces which move away from each other, and shearing forces which slide past each other. So as part of our presentation today, you are expected to bring out or to define what is folding. Secondly, you are expected to identify the types of folding, and in our last part, you shall be able to discuss the major landforms which are produced by folding. So let's continue with the first objective, which talks about the definition of folding. Okay, folding refers to the bending or twisting of rocks of the earth crust due to compressional forces. I repeat, bending or twisting of rocks of the earth crust due to compressional forces. When folding occurs, the part that goes up is called the upfold or anticline, and the part that goes down is known as the syncline or the downfold, and the sides of the fold are known as limbs. We can see this in our diagram. So when a force is acting this way and another one acting from the right, you realize that it is going to bend. This is as a result of bending. So take a piece of paper, try to fold it. You realize that it's going to bend. This part that goes up is called the anticline or the upfold, and the part that goes down is known as the syncline, because the forces are acting on both sides. So let's continue. Look at the illustration of folding. In folding, we talk about for compressional forces acting on them. When the force acts on both sides, this rock here, it is going to fold. So this part that is going up is known as the anticline or upfold, and this part down is known as the syncline or the downfold. Let's talk about the types of fold. There are many types of fold, and we are going to concentrate on a few. The very first one is the simple or symmetrical fold. In this symmetrical fold, you see the limbs here are the same. The sides are the same because the forces of compression on both sides are equal. So this is the side that is known as a simple fold, because the limbs are equal, and this is because the compressional forces on both sides are the same. You can see that these sides are the same, but here they are not the same, here they are not the same, and here they are not the same. We shall see that as we advance. We continue with the second type of fold, which is the asymmetrical fold. In this asymmetrical fold, realize that one limb is steeper than the other because the compressional forces on both sides are not the same. It is greater on one side than the other. Here, this side is gentle and this side is steeper. The compressional forces that is acting this way is stronger. So, and it's pushing this one to be gentle and to be over this other one here. That is why we talk about a asymmetrical fold, an asymmetrical fold. We talk about overfold. Here, one of the limb is pushed over because the compressional forces is greater on one side than the other. Look here, you realize that the compressional force is greater here and has pushed the anticline to go and is already above the syncline. This is what we talk about an overfold. It is almost overturned here. Now let's talk about a recumbent fold. In a recumbent fold, it's part of an overfold, but it has been pushed over the upfold has been pushed over the downfold, so much so that the anticline is in an axial plane. So the anticline is pushed over the downfold. This is the anticline. It has been pushed over and the axial plane is almost horizontal. Look here, it's almost horizontal. The axial plane here is almost horizontal. That's why we are talking about a recumbent fold. Now let's talk about the nap or overthrust fold. Here, it is a fold in which one limb slides over the other. It is formed when pressure is so great that the fracture occurs in the fold and one limb is pushed over the other along the fold line. Look at what has happened here. This area was joined together, but because of the continuous pressure, it has been cut, causing a fault line here. They are no longer together, but because they have been displaced, that's why it's called a nap fold. Dear students, we are going now to talk about the last type of fold, which is the anticlinorium and synclinorium. Remember, these are minor fold complexes. This area is generally known as an anticline. So when there are minor folds which occur at the anticline, it's called anticlinorium. And when this area, which is called the syncline, when minor folds also occur there, it is known as synclinorium. So we have the minor fold complexes occurring at the anticline and at the syncline. Let's now talk about the major landforms of folding. And the first major landform of folding is anticlinal ridges and synclinal depressions. A ridge is like a furrow, like a high land, but not to the height of mountains. And depressions are low, but not like valleys. So when you talk about anticline ridges, we say that these are upfolded uplands. Upfolded uplands of relatively low height that extends over a long distance. Look here, this is what is called an anticline ridge. Because folding has taken place, a ridge is created, and as a ridge is created, it forms what is known as an anticline ridge. Here, it is a synclinal depression which is lying below the anticline ridge. So a depression is an synclinal depression is an elongated downfolded low land between two anticline uplands. So and the example, we have the Paris basin and the London basin. So take note of this. So another major landform created by folding is fold mountains. Here we have talked about fold mountains when we were discussing plate tectonics, and I believe that you have a good knowledge on that. So dear students, for me to determine whether you understood this lesson or not, I want you to first of all define folding, whereby you write it down as the bending or the twisting of rocks of the earth crust due to compressional forces. Identify the types of folds. You have to write them down. The types of folds, there are many of them. We have simple folds, we have asymmetrical fold, we have overfold, we have recumbent, we have overthrust, and we have anticlinorium and synclinorium. And then identify the major landforms produced by folding. I can hear you saying that there is synclinal depressions, there's anticline uh, ridges, and there are fold mountains. Thank you for listening. Do your assignments, submit them through the normal forum, and I hope to see you again next time. Thank you very much.